Here comes Sims. Pedaling into the paint, leaning and hitting a 10-0 run to start this game for Indiana. And Minnesota wants a timeout. Caitlin Clark knows it.
I know a lot of people will talk about Nafisa not playing, but I think they're really good with or without her. You know, they're just a really great basketball team. So I think it was a big win for us because they set the bar high standard-wise.
What did Kelsey Mitchell say in the locker room after Indiana's third straight win that had her teammates buzzing? The Fever just stunned the Lynx, despite being without 5 key players, including Caitlin Clark, and Mitchell's words hit different. It was the perfect snapshot of this team's playoff mindset. No excuses. No underdog labels. Just a group ready to rewrite the script in 2025 and prove they're real contenders. If you're locked in for the postseason, drop a "fired up for the Fever" in the comments. Let's go.
We know what to expect when it comes to Minnesota Lynx, and so I think going into the playoffs, it was big for us because being able to know guarding Courtney Williams, knowing that her thing is a pull up, knowing that now instead of not knowing that, it's big for us because we give ourselves a chance, and if they are the standard, we get to see where we are.
How does a team missing 5 of its key players rattle off 3 straight wins against some of the league's toughest opponents? That's exactly what the Indiana Fever just pulled off. A squad that looked finished just weeks ago has suddenly flipped the script into one of the most unexpected turnarounds of the season. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe BBY, and Ari McDonald, all sidelined. That's 5 rotation players gone, including the face of the league in Clark. For most teams, losing that much firepower would have been the death sentence, especially this late in the season. But the Fever, they're proving everyone wrong.
With the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah. You already know what it is. Dubs in the chat, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoff with some momentum, baby.
Just a week ago, this was a team that had dropped 4 of its last 5 games. Indiana's playoff hopes looked like they were slipping through their fingers. Fans weren't just doubting a postseason push. They were questioning if the Fever even had enough healthy bodies to stay competitive, let alone take down teams like the Lynx. The doubt was real, and for a moment it felt like an entire season filled with promise was on the verge of unraveling right in front of us.
One of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason, really the ones that I was able to work out with in the offseason, is how hard they work. There's a work ethic and there's a work style. And to approach everything in the same way, to be so energetic, enthusiastic, and dedicated every day. And I felt that way in training camp too. There weren't any days where I had to bring that out of them. So I think it's the nature of the women that we've brought into this organization to continue to just bust their butts and play hard.
But instead of folding, this team flipped the script. They reinvented themselves on the fly, right in the middle of the season. Head coach Stephanie White drilled a simple but powerful mantra into the locker room: be where your feet are. And it wasn't just a catchy line, it became a mindset. It meant no more obsessing over who was missing, no more dwelling on what the roster could have been. It was about locking in on the moment, owning the role in front of you, and finding a way to impact every single possession.
Not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And, these are things that you have to go through. I often say there's no substitute for experience, and the experience that these guys have had to have to continue to reinvent, to have to continue to find different ways to get back up, and to play through some different struggles is not just paying us dividends this season, but as far as what it's doing for our culture, it's going to pay dividends for many years.
That mindset showed up right away against Minnesota. The Fever blitzed the Lynx with a 10-0 start, setting a tone that nobody saw coming. They weren't sitting back, they were dictating everything. Shots dropped, the defense suffocated, and just like that, Indiana flipped the script. It wasn't about who was missing. It was about who was willing to scrap. Veterans crashing the glass, reserves diving for loose balls. Every player locked into the idea that their edge had to come from competing harder than the opponent on every single possession. It wasn't always smooth, but it was relentless. And that's the difference between a team just surviving and a team actually winning. The payoff? That victory not only pushed Indiana to its first winning record since 2015, it stamped resilience as their identity. The story isn't about injuries, it's about the response. and that response has been fueled by players rising to the moment. At the center of it all, Kelsey Mitchell. Her historic season is rewriting the future of Indiana basketball. With Caitlin Clark sidelined, the question was simple: who would carry the load? This wasn't about filling a box score. It was about leadership, scoring, and energy when the team needed it most. That's why the Lynx game hit different. It proved Indiana's depth isn't just holding on, it's thriving under the spotlight. Fans worried the offense would collapse without Clark and Sophie Cunningham, and it could've. But instead of stalling out, the Fever leaned into versatility, and it paid off big.
Kelsey, how much pride do you take in the fact that you played, you started in every game now for 2 straight years, and on top of that, you're now the points per game leader in franchise history?
Man, I don't want to sound cliche, but I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to, if I'm able, willingly, 2 feet, 2 legs, 2 arms to play the game, a lot of people can't, I'm going to play. It may not fall my way all the time, but you never have to worry about me not being present, especially I don't have anywhere else to be. So that's just what that is. I'm never going to not play and compete. You're never not going to see me sit out if I don't need to. So it's just about staying. I obviously haven't really been who I want to be, but I'm all about basketball when it comes to this finishing.
Aaliyah Boston was more than just a paint anchor. She was the engine. Running offense out of the post like a guard in a center's frame, she tied her own rebounding record, vacuuming up everything in sight. Every touch on the block forced Minnesota's defense to shift, opening driving lanes and kickouts that set the table for her teammates.
Boston off the steal, coast to coast, and in for 2. Here comes Sims. A little hop. As she took it inside the arc. Boston able to finish, looked like she was getting hugged, but was pursued.
Boston even turned defense into instant offense. Off the steal, she went coast to coast, finishing through contact like she refused to be stopped. Then came Odyssey Sims, reminding everyone she's still got plenty left in the tank. Coming off the bench and dropping 15, she looked like she'd been waiting for this exact moment to prove herself again. Afterward, she called it a fresh start, adding, "New season starts Sunday." It wasn't just a catchy line, it perfectly captured how Indiana is approaching this stretch. Sims brought steadiness to the backcourt, controlled possessions, and gave the Fever a second playmaker the Lynx never solved. And just when Minnesota tried to claw their way back, Aerial Powers delivered the dagger. Back-to-back threes that ripped through the net, turning momentum on its head and silencing the Lynx's surge. In just her 8th game with the Fever, Powers showed exactly why she matters, stepping into the spotlight and swinging the game. Meanwhile, Natisha Heedman added her own mark, reading the defense with precision and making the smart play at just the right time. This wasn't just about one star carrying the load, it was wave after wave of players seizing the moment. A team battered by injuries, yet playing like nothing could shake their confidence.